The monsters are here, guys. But I gotta say, this whole Kong vs. Godzilla thing in Godzilla X Kong: The New Empire is like a wrestling match where one wrestler gets all the spotlight, while the other one just kinda hangs around for moral support. So let me tell you what happened to me. I'm a die-hard Godzilla fan. I got posters, action figures, maybe even a Godzilla-themed tattoo peeking out of somewhere. And then I'm sitting in the theater, popcorn in hand, ready to see Godzilla wreak some havoc, and what do I get? Kong, stealing the show. Like he's auditioning for a Broadway musical or something. I mean, don't get me wrong, Kong's got his charm. He's swinging from skyscrapers, doing his King Kong thing, and everybody's cheering. But us Godzilla fans, we're sitting there like, what about our favorite radioactive lizard? It's like going to a pizza party and finding out that they only serve salad. Friggin' Mormons. The title even teases us with Godzilla X Kong: The New Empire, making it sound like a royal showdown. But instead of a balanced match, it's more like a Kong's world tour with Godzilla making a cameo appearance. I half expected Godzilla to pop up at the end and say, "Hey, remember me? I'm in this movie." But Godzilla has been stomping around in movies for ages, hasn't he? He's all about destruction. He's like the ultimate wrecking ball, minus Smiley Cyrus. But with such a bad joke. But with scales and atomic breath. I mean, he's got a tough job. It's not easy being the designated monster to cause chaos in every city. But let's not forget about Godzilla's emotional range. Wait, there isn't much to talk about there. I mean, the guy's idea of therapy session is probably just roaring loudly until someone pays attention. Roar! I'm angry and I'm gonna show it by smashing stuff. That's the Godzilla way. However, despite his lack of character development or deep feelings, Godzilla is still a legend. He's like the grumpy uncle at your family gatherings with less controversial opinions who you secretly admire because he's just so darn cool in his own destructive way. We got Godzilla stomping around since 2014, and then Kong swinging in with Skull Island. And don't forget King of the Monsters, where every Titan came out of hiding like it was a Monster Family reunion. Now we're in the era of Godzilla vs. Kong: The New Empire, where the monsters are bigger, the fights are crazier, and the humans are just there. But don't forget about Monarch Legacy of Monsters, the Apple TV Plus series that decided to add a family drama twist to the monster mayhem with a real touch of human stories. Now about that timeline. Everybody buckle up. It's like trying to untangle Christmas lights after a squirrel got to them. Maybe we've got Legacy of Monsters happening in some alternate time dimension, because I don't know. In Monarch, when people are in the Hollow Earth or in the dimension where Titans are living, they age like fine wine. And by that, I mean the passage of time takes longer because time is slower in this place according to the series. But in the movies, Godzilla vs. Kong and Godzilla X Kong, we do see people venturing into the Hollow Earth, but the time is going by just fine. Basically, in Monarch, time dilation is a thing in Hollow Earth, but in the movies, it doesn't exist. Now I have an idea. In Hollow Earth, I think it's just happening at the special spot called the Axis Mundi, where time dilation is a thing, but it's not a thing in GVK and GXK. Which we will now call them, as they didn't go down at the Axis Mundi. To put it simply, the movies are happening in different nooks and crannies of Hollow Earth, and that's why there is no time dilation there. So imagine Hollow Earth like a big hollow ball. Maybe the Axis Mundi, where time gets wonky, is down at the bottom, where those gateways pop up. Then, in the movie, GVK and GXK happen on the ceiling of the Hollow Earth. Because the way gravity works, maybe time dilation only affects the ceiling area? And since the characters weren't there for too long, just a few hours, they might not have noticed any big time differences between Hollow Earth and the surface. Well, that's all I have. Let me know what you think, because I'm starting to feel like that Pepe Sylvia episode of Always Sunny. Anyway, let's talk about that script. It was as weak as my morning coffee on Monday, and not like today, which is just a big old bowl of cocaine. I'm joking. It was meth. The storyline felt like it was put together by a scatterbrained intern who had way too many energy drinks. I mean, Godzilla and Kong battling it out should have been the highlight, but instead, I found myself rooting for the popcorn guy to make a cameo. Don't get me started on the human characters. They were about as interesting as watching paint dry. There were scientists, researchers, corporate figures. They all blended into the same boring background. But the climax is where the party started. Godzilla and Kong finally stopped bickering like siblings and threw down in a spectacle that would make a fireworks show jealous. The visual effects were like candy for my eyes, and the action sequences had me on the edge of my seat. Literally, I almost fell off twice. Godzilla with his atomic breath and Kong swinging like Tarzan, it was a sight to behold. The destruction they caused made me thankful I wasn't living in that CGI city. I gotta say, the CGI and VFX in Godzilla vs. Kong: The New Empire were like throwing a party for my eyeballs. You know, the computer wizard folks really outdid themselves this time. I mean, they made Godzilla and Kong look so real. I felt like I was about to be murdered by monsters. The way they brought these titans to life was mind-blowing. Godzilla's scales looked like they could double as skyscrapers, and Kong moved around like a ninja. And let's not forget about the showdown with the Scar King. It was like a heavyweight championship match, but with way more destruction and way less spandex. But it wasn't just about the big guys throwing punches. The whole Hollow Earth thing was like stepping into a psychedelic dreamland. From the icy creature to those jaw-dropping landscapes, it was a visual feast for sure. But then comes the music. Now, I'm all for a killer soundtrack that amps up the excitement, but in the new Empire, it's like they grabbed a random playlist and hit shuffle. You've got these massive kaiju battles, and instead of heart-pounding beats, it's like someone accidentally hit the snooze button on the music department. In the previous MonsterVerse films, you could practically feel the iconic roar of Godzilla or the primal drum beats of Kong in the music. But here, it's like they lost the sheet music or something. The tunes just don't capture the essence of these legendary monsters. Now, I'm no music critic, but even I could tell you that the new Empire missed a beat or two in the melody department. I gotta say, Godzilla vs. Kong The New Empire is like that giant sandwich you can't decide whether to eat or hang on your wall as art. It's got all the ingredients for a wild ride, but sometimes it feels like it's more cartoon than live action. So people are comparing Godzilla vs. Kong The New Empire with -1. I mean, come on. That's like comparing a taco with a spaceship. Both are cool in their own way, but they don't belong in the same food group or a movie genre. Godzilla vs. Kong The New Empire. It's like that big blockbuster action movie. It's all about the adrenaline rush and spectacle. On the other hand, -1 sounds like a brain-teasing thriller, the kind that messes with your head and leaves you questioning reality. Godzilla vs. Kong The New Empire is all about power, rivalry, and humans trying to not get stomped by enormous creatures. It's like a reminder that no matter how big we think we are, nature can still kick our butts. Meanwhile, -1 could be diving into identity crises, inner demons, or maybe just a really intense game of chess. See? Totally different vibes. Trying to compare these movies is like trying to mix peanut butter with spaghetti. It might sound interesting, but it's probably not going to taste great. Each movie has its own flavor, its own audience, and its own reason for existing. But in Godzilla vs. Kong The New Empire, they tried to please everyone by cramming in more monsters than humans. Now, don't get me wrong, I love a good monster mashup as much as the next person. Who wouldn't want to see Godzilla and Kong throwing down like heavyweight champs? I mean, I get it, monsters are the main attraction here. They're the rock stars of the MonsterVerse, but hey, us puny, miserable humans need a little love too, right? So, while we get plenty of epic monster brawls and eye-popping CGI, I couldn't help but feel like I was missing out on some juicy character development and emotional depth. And let's not get started on the plot holes big enough to drive a Godzilla-sized truck through. Yes, we're here for the spectacle, but a coherent story wouldn't hurt. You got so few humans that are supposed to add spice to the story, but instead they're like bland crackers in a bowl of spicy salsa. You're munching away, waiting for the real flavor, and all you get is a dull crunch. And then there's the Scar King. He's got brains, I'll give him that, but here's the thing. He's more of a puppet master than a real threat. He's like a sneaky friend who always has a trick up his sleeve, keeping you guessing what's next. But I love how they pay attention to the small stuff, like, Kong's tooth infection. And then there's the hair loss. It's relatable, you know? Like, we've all had these moments where we look in the mirror and go, where the hell did my hair go? And don't even get me started on the scars. Those are like little badges, telling the story of all the epic showdowns these titans have been through. So yeah, it's the small details that really make Godzilla vs. Kong The New Empire stand out. Who knew a tooth infection could be so entertaining? But we shouldn't forget about the Hollow Earth. In Godzilla vs. Kong The New Empire, we get a VIP tour of this underground wonderland, complete with a crash course in Monster 101. Instead of the usual trees and squirrels, you got towering rock formations, and the plants? They're not just green, they're glowing like they're auditioning for a rave party. It's like Mother Nature dropped a few tabs of neon paint and went to town. And the sizes of those monsters took my breath away. Imagine Godzilla and Kong's love child, and then multiply that by 10. That's the kind of scale we're dealing with in the Hollow Earth. But it's not just about big and bigger. The Hollow Earth is like a history lesson wrapped in a monster movie. It's where the origin of these colossal creatures come to light, like uncovering the family tree of the world's most dysfunctional but incredibly entertaining dynasty. It goes without saying that Godzilla vs. Kong The New Empire hit me with all its monster goodness. This movie knows how to deliver the goods. You've got Godzilla roaring, Kong smashing, and other monsters joining in for a royal rumble that's pure cinematic adrenaline. And let's talk about the length of those fights. They're longer than my friend's never-ending stories about his cat. We don't care about mittens. But unlike those stories, these battles are actually fun to watch. You get your money's worth of monster brawls with each punch, claw swipe, and atomic breath blast keeping you on the edge of your seat. Now I know the movie isn't perfect. It's got its flaws, like those moments where you're pondering why the characters are doing what they're doing. But hey, who needs a Pulitzer-winning script when you've got giant monsters wrecking stuff? Oh, and Godzilla's transformation? It's like watching your favorite superhero level up in real time. You see him go from an angry lizard to a full-on force of nature, and it's epic. Sure, Kong gets a lot of the spotlight, but Godzilla's evolution is the cherry on the top of the monster sundae. In the end, Godzilla vs. Kong: The New Empire might not be high art, but it's high-octane entertainment. If you're looking for a movie that delivers on monster fights, big action, and a good time, this one's got you covered. Also, this movie has a bigger box office opening than Dune. Let that sink in. Do you think this monster movie is better than sandworm riding? Let me know in the comment section below.